Hello and welcome to the first Anime Brain Freeze episode of 2018. We are your hosts who will never stop until they drop.
I am John.
And I'm CC. And this is the show where we review all the anime series from the previous season we did and didn't watch start to finish. I hope all of you out there were treated well by the new year so far. John, how about you?
It's been going pretty well so far.
Okay. Mixed bag for me, but let's hope it just stays alright. Or better than 2017, at least in some regards. Oh yeah, heads up for you guys out there. We will take another 3-week break, not 2 weeks as usual, because I won't be available. We will return to our regular schedule right after that for episode 46. Anyway, of course we will review our first show from fall season 2017 at the end of this episode, and that will be Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond, and to an extent its predecessor, since we haven't really talked about that series on our show yet at all. But first, since it's the start of a new season, we of course have to highlight the premiere episodes we checked out in the past 2 weeks of all the new anime series that have started. And we do that in a few moments in our sneak peek. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Alright, here we are in our sneak peek segment for winter season 2018. Yeah, that's right. And John and I just did the count, and apparently I have checked out a few more shows than he is, so as per usual, the one who has more shows starts rattling off a few in a row. So let's just get my Insta drops and new seasons of continuing series out of the way, and start with my first drop, Grancrest Grancrest Wars, I think it is. A super generic fantasy anime about mages whose magic manifests itself in special crests on their hands. But those crests are also symbols for rank and status in this world that the show is set in. And you can also steal crests from other people and add them to yours to make yourself more powerful and give you more wealth and stuff like that. So this is apparently an adaptation of a manga / light novel / pen and paper RPG series. And, you know, why not hit all those checkboxes while you're at it? So, the first episode, was just too by the numbers for me. And the action didn't look particularly good either. Also, the two main characters weren't too exciting. So, yeah, that's a drop. Not much more to say about it. Especially considering I already have 2 anime this season in a somewhat classic fantasy world that I will definitely watch. So there is no need for a third one that seems just all around mediocre, at least judging from its first episode. Anyway, let's continue. My next drop is Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you checked that out too?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then please talk about it, and I'll tell you why I dropped it.
Okay. So it's basically a story that takes place in Fukuoka. Seems like, regular peaceful city, but there's crime everywhere. One of the things that little factoids that they drop about this version of Fukuoka is that the population is 3% hitmen and hired guns, which that seems like a lot. Not gonna lie.
Yes, I think so. I mean, considering they have a special organization that is only, tasked with contracting and hiring killers and, giving them the jobs.
Yeah, I mean, and there's several of these organizations.
Yeah.
You say you didn't get past the first episode, because in the second episode, they introduce, a few others, and it's like, Jesus Christ, how many people are out to kill each other? Mm. But, there's more than just, these guys who are, out to kill because you told them to. There's ones who are like, oh, I want you to get revenge on whatever this thing that happened to me. So, because there's a scene in the second episode where it's like, oh, this guy hired me to punch you in the face because you punched him in the face. Mm. Fair.
Yes.
But yes, Fukuoka is home to professional killers, detectives, informants, revenge seekers, those who are skilled in torture. And according to an urban legend, there's even a killer of professional killers in the city. Whoa. Mm-hmm. The story follows this detective Zenji Banba, hitman Lin Xiangming, and this newbie hitman Saito, who just keeps having bad day after bad day.
Yeah, who seems like a regular office worker who, starting out a new job. He's just gonna be a fucking hitman for some reason.
He gets mistaken for someone else, almost gets tortured, gets released, gets paid for the work that he didn't do. Oops. Wakes up the next morning in a hotel bed next to a dead woman's body, and oh no.
Shit happens.
So, I mean, I feel like this could be kind of interesting, just having all these hitmen and hired guns who serve different purposes, more or less conflicting with each other. I don't know. What did you think of it? Obviously, you dropped it, but...
Yes. The problem is I recently watched a show that has kind of a similar setup, and that was Gangsta, which was more in a kind of small town setting, but, different crime syndicates all, fighting against each other, basically, or different hitmen fighting against each other. And I liked that show, but, that tanked, and Manglobe went under soon after. So, yeah, the characters weren't, unsympathetic or anything, but I don't know. Nothing about that first episode got me necessarily hooked. I mean, the characters seemed cool and everything, but I was at the end, I was I got so much other stuff to watch. I don't know if this episode gives me enough to warrant to keep on watching, especially, since I've seen a show not so long ago that was dabbling in that. It was just nothing that screamed to me, oh God, I gotta keep watching this. Even though it's a satellite show and, I've done a lot of shows that I like, but I don't know. It didn't keep me hooked. That's all. Not particularly fault of the show or anything. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, but I can barely remember until you just mentioned the basic plot points who was, in that show. So, and what was happening. So, I guess that's saying enough.
Fair enough.
But considering if you stick with it and if you say, oh man, the story goes places, then I might come back to it. I don't know. But for now, it's a drop.
Okay.
All right. Next drop. The Junji Ito Collection, which is an anime adaptation of a collection of short stories by the famous horror mangaka Junji Ito. And boy, did Studio Dean fail to establish any kind of suspenseful or threatening or exciting atmosphere in this first episode. Wow.
Whoops.
Nothing about this show felt scary or moody or creepy. It was just weird. It looks bad. It's not funny, even though it was definitely trying to be. And yeah, then after this first short story is over, it's 2 short stories in one episode. After the first one is over, we get a super short second one that just in terms of its length has no fucking chance to even work as an anime adaptation, at least of a horror story, even if they had put some work into it. I don't know. This just feels completely flat and half-assed, and I like all kinds of horror stuff, so I was really interested in this, and I haven't read any of Ito's manga, so I was like, hey, cool, anime version of his stuff, and yeah, wow, I bet this will be amazing. But yeah, this was just, wow. This was really disappointing and super lame, and wow. What a disappointment. Shame.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, next Insta drop is After the Rain, which is about a girl working at a restaurant who...
this show.
Yeah, falls for the manager of that place for certain reasons, even if he is much older than her and already has a kid. And there's nothing really wrong with that show. It's funny, it's well animated, it has sympathetic characters, and considering the subject matter, it feels surprisingly icky, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Because back before it started airing, I looked at the show. I was like, oh, this could be interesting. 19-year-old falls in love with 45-year-old.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was just checking it out on account of several people mentioning how good it looked. But I had the same reservations that you had. But, the first episode was really sweet, and, all of those people felt really nice and relatable and everything. So I don't know, maybe you should check it out. it might be up your alley. But just for me, straightforward romantic comedy is not my cup of tea and not what I'm looking for in anime. It's just not my genre. That's all. It's a perfectly fine show, at least from what I can tell from its first episode. Super serviceable, fun, well produced and everything, but it's just not for me. Unless there's, a hook or, that appeals to me for some reason, special setting or whatever, or certain special character traits or whatever. And that just wasn't the case in this show. That's all. But probably not a bad show. Next one, and I know you checked this one out too, is Pop Team Epic. And the only thing that I have written down in my show notes for this is, what?
It truly is a series that defies description.
Yes.
Like, I mean, with something like TQ, granted, it doesn't really have a strong overarching narrative, but, it at least has a setup. With this, it's just like, all right.
Reference gag after reference gag after reference gag after reference gag after nonsense after nonsense after nonsense after nonsense.
And there's just something so oddly brilliant about it. I don't know. But I watched the first episode, I was like, what?
It's very gung-ho about its craziness and, it's nonsense.
And something drove me to watch the second episode, and I'm sure that same something will drive me to keep watching it. If I watch it to the end, I don't know how to review it, because it's nonsense. It's complete and utter chaos.
I mean, you will probably be the person who has to try to review it if you if you
I don't know what I'll say.
Yeah, we'll see. Good luck with that. I mean, there was one gag in that first episode that or reference gag that I got. The other ones flew over my head. But that one was good. It was just like the rest. I was just sitting there. What is going? What? Who? Why? Why are these two girls talking like grown men? What is going on? I just. No, I think this is too crazy even for me. And I mean, I just didn't get it. I know this is like one or. What was the other joke they made? Was this a 3-panel gag manga? Usually, that's the origin of this.
Yeah, or 4-panel, yeah.
Yeah, and the gag in the first episode is like evil Ministry of Shadow people, saying, they thought we couldn't turn this 3-panel gag manga into fucking anime. We'll prove them wrong, or shit like that. I don't know.
I think he was more like, there's no way they could make this happen. And you just see tall girl and small girl kind of limping away.
See, I didn't even get that. So, and then, they start the episode over just, with normal voice actress this time. And I was just...
quote unquote normal?
Yes. Normaler? I don't know if that is a word. But... I was thoroughly confused. That is my review of the first episode, and yes. So I hope it will bring you much enjoyment. I'm dropping it for my own sanity's sake and everything.
All right.
Okay, now we get to my second seasons or series continuations that are happening this season. The first one is Yowamushi Pedal Glory Line, which sounds dirtier than it actually is, which is by now the 4th season of the popular Shonen Bicycle Road Racing series. I've mentioned this show before on one of our sneak peeks when New Generation started, and which was the 3rd season. And I'm, as usual, looking forward to more Yowamushi Pedal. It's just, one of the most fun sports anime I've seen. And maybe after the season, I will finally review all existing seasons of the series. Like we did with Symphogear, though I have to think of something for John to do, because that would be a whole damn lot of only me talking about anime, even more so than usual, and nobody wants that. But we'll cross that bridge when we arrive there. For now, more bicycle racing and the main character loudly singing the OP song of his favorite magical girl anime to power himself up on the final sprint for the finish line is what I expect and hopefully get from that show. Season 2 of Nanatsu no Taizai, or Seven Deadly Sins, not to be confused with Sin Nanatsu no Taizai, or Seven Mortal Sins, which for some reason is a show that exists and is about something completely different.
Also not to be confused with the upcoming Nanatsu no Bitoku, because, now we need a show about the 7 heavenly virtues that's just loaded with fan service. What?
I wonder if that is the follow-up episode to that other.
I think it's supposed to be, actually.
Yeah, you say fan service, and that's what I'm... because that's all that other show was. I mean, there's enough fan service in my 7 Deadly Sins too, but still. Anyway, yeah, this show is one of the fantasy anime I mentioned earlier that I would definitely keep on watching. I love the first season. It's classic shonen action, very reminiscent of early Dragon Ball for me. The main character is kind of a mix between Goku and Muten Roshi. Make of that what you will. It's about a princess fleeing her kingdom because it was taken over by its holy knights, or Order of Holy Knights. She tries to enlist the help of a group considered to be the strongest knights in the kingdom, or formerly considered to be the strongest knights in the kingdom, until they were accused and persecuted for a crime they allegedly committed against the kingdom. We had the first season, then a 4-episode mini-season called Signs of a Holy War, and now the second season picks up immediately after those. And I can't wait to return to this world. There's lots of fun characters in that show, some really cool fights, a somewhat underused setting for classic shonen series. Knights, not, classic knights with Arthur and everything, not that usual for that kind of show, I think. It's not a powerhouse like My Hero Academia, Hunter or Attack on Titan, but I would rank it on the same level as Magi, another series by A1 Pictures with a kind of unusual setting. So yeah, if you like that show and early Dragon Ball, maybe give this one a chance. Although I would recommend you watch the first season. There is an episode 0 for the second season that recaps pretty much everything that already happened. But it leaves out a lot of the cool character moments and fights and everything. So, per usual. But Seven Deadly Sins is a great little shonen anime with cool action, cool music, cool setting and everything. So, yeah, recommended by me, shonen fanboy. And the last one of my rattling of shit that I watched, in serious continuation, is Overlord Season 2. This is a Madhouse show, which is based on a light novel. And on the surface, this is the worst kind of isekai smut you can think of. No, really. But what made me stick around for the entirety of Season 1 were its fun characters and the way the show is having fun with its RPG mechanics. So basically, this is about a guy with the nickname Momonga playing a deep dive RPG like SAO that is at, death's door. Not he, but the RPG. They are about to shut down the service and everything. And all his friends have already abandoned the game a while ago, and he's the last one around, walking lonely through the halls of their castle and everything. Reminiscing back to the olden days and stuff when things were still fun. But then when the servers are shut down, for some reason his castle is around, as are his many demonic servants. And for some reason the castle has been transported to a different world where still most of the game's mechanics apply for some reason. So yeah, it's dumb trash. I'll make no qualms about it, especially since I shit so much on Knights and Magic and Sword Art Online last season. But the show doesn't take itself too seriously, and the main character is not an insufferable little Mr. Perfect fuckboy like Eru. Momonga, or Eins, as he later calls himself, is kind of a bad guy, at least in the game. Basically Skeletor with a conscience, who, really misses his friends and hopes some of them made it over into this new world and he can find them and everything. This is kind of an unusual main character, at least in that way. And the second season starts off by expanding the world and character roster a lot in its first episode. So if you haven't seen the first season, you will be completely lost. But yeah, this is this season trash anime number 1. There's one more. for this season. But I hope I enjoyed the second outing as much as the first one. First season was really well animated, as expected from Madhouse, at least when they have a certain budget. It's got cool music. I like the art. I like I said, the fun and 7 weeks game mechanic, and I get to that in the actual review. But I had to really laugh at certain elements of that show, just, because of the game stuff. It's very violent, just be warned about that. Not as violent as another show I'm going to talk about later, but still. I am aware it is trash, probably one of the worst isekai trash, but the characters are what keep me around, mostly, for this. And it's a kind of well-crafted world, I guess. All right, so finally, John, please tell me about the show you watched.
Show that I watched and probably gonna drop is Toji no Miko. Mm-hmm. Katana Maidens.
Oh, yeah, right. No, the Japanese title didn't ring a bell, but now, yes.
Yes. So this show is all about these girls who are trained to be basically sword maidens, which, on the surface sounds really cool. The series opens up with a bunch of these girls participating in this inter-school tournament type of thing, and when it comes down to the last match, the two main characters, Kanami and Hiyori, are about to cross swords when suddenly Hiyori jets off on her own to attack this girl, Yukari, who is one of the big leaders who oversees a lot of the Toji. And there's not much explanation at first, and Kanami steps up to the plate to help Hiyori out, and then they basically end up fleeing together and make this very unlikely duo. It's revealed that Yukari is basically possessed by the spirit of this monster called an Aradama, and a lot of the struggle ends up becoming, how can we convince others to help us out and simultaneously, not get caught and, flayed to pieces as basically the big bads, the other high-ranking sword maidens are basically planning to do to them. The show, I don't know. I think my problem with it is they throw around a lot of this weird, obviously Japanese, pseudo-religious terminology, and it's just sort of what are you even talking about? I don't understand. In English, please, or as much English as we can get to. I like the character designs. The fight scenes are all right, but I don't know how much it's going to hold my interest. I'm 3 episodes in, and it seems
that's usually the cutoff point for many people if the show hasn't grabbed them fully by then.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's worth giving a couple more, but it's probably tentatively going to be a drop because it doesn't feel like – it feels like, they've already revealed one of the big plot revelations really early on. And you know what? There's a lot of shows that will wait until 2-3 episodes from the end to be like, oh, it was actually blah all along. And that kind of pisses me off. So when they say, oh, Yukari is possessed by this high-level Aradama – all right, okay, sure. That's why she acts like such a cold, crazy bitch. Fine. We've established that right away, and we can, expand on that for another 22 episodes. It feels very by the numbers is all. And I guess that's not inherently a bad thing. But
if it's well executed, it's not. But if there's nothing else that is really sticking out in terms of it's production or whatever, or it's writing that keeps you hooked. And
yeah, and I guess the big selling point for the show is it's part of a mixed media project because Square Enix were also pushing at the same time. Oh, play the mobile game, and it's
if it wasn't a mobile game, maybe there would be interest.
Yeah. So probably gonna drop. I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest, but that's Toji no Miko.
All right. John, are you ready for some 90s as fuck super trash?
Go on.
So the next anime and the next trash anime of this season that I'm definitely gonna keep on watching is Killing Bites.
Oh, Christ. Go on.
So for a few people who actually played it and remember it, there was a little series called Bloody Roar on the PlayStation 2, and the GameCube. Once a long time ago. And I really enjoyed that series. I love it a lot. And this is basically that as an anime, only dumber, if that is possible. So you basically got, in this show, you got an underground fighting league where people transform into were-animals and battle to the death. So, lots of action, giant animal people, lots of blood, lots of tits and ass, because for some reason, and we all know that reason, only the men fully transform into their respective animal, while the girls only get a bit of fur on the arms and legs, and, maybe a tail or claws, but they don't completely transform into the animals.
Now, why is that?
Yeah, I wonder. The opening and ending tells us all about that. At least Bloody Roar wasn't scared to go full furry. Which in that case, because it wasn't for fan service purposes, I appreciate it, because it made, it was real, cool, evil-looking animals fighting each other, and you could take it more serious, I guess, at least as much as you can take something like that seriously. But this Killing Bites is just like pure super trash. It oozes like 90s dumb trash TV charisma. Maybe late 80s OVA. It's just, wow. The fights look cool, though, so I'm gonna stick around. Like, main characters are not anything to write home about or stuff, but the monsters are interesting. I love creature horror and stuff, so I like people transforming into evil, menacing animals and shit like that, and fighting each other. So, yeah. That's cool. That's, trying to pretend that this will end anywhere else but the trash stash at the end of the season is ridiculous. But, if the fight sequences keep that level of quality, this is the kind of trash that's up my alley, and we'll talk about it soon, I guess. Soonish. Anyway, what's next on your list?
Next up is Miss Koizumi Loves Ramen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or if you speak the Japaneses, it's Ramen Daisuki Koizumi-san. So this show is about this girl Koizumi. Is it her first name? Is it her last name? We don't know. It's just Koizumi. She's this mysterious and very attractive high school student. What most people don't know about her is that she is crazy about ramen. And she's always on the lookout for different restaurants serving it in all sorts of different ways. And every single day, she goes hunting for places that serve the best stuff. I don't know how you can eat it every day, man.
I'm not near a ramen place, so I can't. So I'm happy when I get the chance. So there you go.
Yeah. So one of her classmates is this girl Yu Osawa, and let's do away with all the pretenses. Yu has a super huge crush on Koizumi, and she doesn't make any attempt to hide it. And she just there was someone on Twitter who summed up this show perfectly. Do you like ramen? Do you like cute girls who like ramen? Do you like cute girls who like cute girls who like ramen? That's this show.
Well,
this show.
I don't know about the ramen thing, but the cute girl stuff that that works, right? So,
I mean, this show isn't. It's not offensive in any way, but it's just very one note. So you can sort of see everything coming from a mile away. I mean, they kind of break it up in that it's not, some big overarching story. It's little smaller stories of Koizumi, Yu's other friends, and talking about where to find different kinds of ramen recipes to make it. I will say this though, when I was watching it the other day, I was a little upset because when I was like, oh, let's go out for dinner. I wonder if there's any good ramen places around. There aren't.
So that's what I said. I got none either.
This show very successfully hits on that craving for delicious, delicious noodles.
So it does as good of a job at displaying delicious food as Food Wars does.
Exactly. I was about to say that it's very much like Food Wars in that don't watch it on an empty stomach.
Mm.
Because it's like, check out this delicious looking... And I feel like, that's obviously one of the main draws of the show, just very good-looking food. The story, if you can call it that, is very much secondary, and it's sort of, you could do without it. So, I mean, not a terribly offensive or, like, outwardly bad show by any means, but it's easy to give it a pass,
Well, but you are not, right?
I probably will, to be honest.
Okay. Not surprised.
I mean, I'll see how I feel.
All right.
So what do you got for us, boyo?
Another double hit, I think, if I've counted correctly. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, let's go. You already talked about cute stuff, so I'm going to go with a cute double whammy now. Mm-hmm. First one, Hakumei and Mikochi. Uh-huh. This is a show about two gnomes, I guess, fairy folk maybe, who live in the woods together and just go about their laid-back daily lives as, small people living in a fucking tree or wherever they live. And yeah, it's just, that what you would expect. Those two going about their daily lives. The first episode is about... one of them trying to, make a giant bird their pet. And yeah, if that happens or not, I won't spoil that. And the second episode is about them going shopping in the city. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the first episode. And usually, this kind of Iyashikei laid-back slice of life is usually not my cup of tea. But this is super cute. The characters are lovely. And, just like Flying Witch, the setting is interesting enough to, make me just want to rest in that world once a week and let the good feelings wash over me. And that is what this show is really good at. So yeah, I'm gonna keep watching that. And in the same ballpark is How to Keep a Mummy. So I guess this is the season of cuteness overload. I don't know, because if you can't deal with the overly cute stuff and Hakumei and Mikochi didn't kill you, this show will. A guy named Sora regularly gets packages from his archaeologist dad with, weird occult stuff from all over the world. But even Sora is surprised when the newest one contains a real-life mummy. Not any mummy, though. This one is only about the size of his hand. And it's way too fucking adorable. It's clumsy, it articulates in little meeps or mfs, and it's, basically turns his life upside down, and, his friends get in on it and everything. And again, it's comedy, slice of life. That is usually not my cup of tea, but Mikun is the cutest fucking mascot character I've seen in quite a while. You could probably use him as a weapon against evil people. I don't know. It's amazing. And the opening or ending, I'm not sure, hints at there being some heavier character stuff, maybe regarding Sora and his friends. Because there's like scenes where you can garner that they're going through some stuff, and maybe they're gonna get some weird little demon friends too in the later course of the series, apparently. So they will probably help them through that and whatever. So yeah, it's just, setup is interesting enough. The character of Sora is sympathetic, and Kun is fucking adorable as hell. So yeah, I stick around and see what that mummy is all about. All right. John, next show you checked out.
Let's stick with the theme of cute. How about A Place Further Than the Universe?
Right, that's next on my list as well.
Okay. So, show's about this girl, Mari Tamaki. She's in her second year of high school, and she wants to affect a change in her life. She even has like a journal where she has written down some things she wants to do, and she hasn't done them yet. One of them was go on an unplanned journey. And, how often does anything like that happen to anyone? So she meets this girl, Shirase, she's this girl who has few friends. She's considered a little weird by others. And she has this obsession with the Antarctic, since it's all she ever talks about. But Marie finds herself oddly moved by Shirase's dedication, and she says that, even though it's weird, even though it's unlikely, all of these other hurdles that are before them, that, she wants to try and help her go to Antarctica. And it's an interesting setup for a story, mostly because Shirase's mother was part of an Antarctic expedition, and I think there's like these hints that she's trying to get down there to like either reunite with her or find her, because there's been some sort of lapse in contact between the two. I think it feels like it could be a special show. It's also if you want to go back to Overlord for a sec, another Madhouse show this season. So
yes, it looks very good.
Yes,
it's a very good looking show. And the thing for me is I gotta wait and see if this is more than cute girls doing cute things in the snow, because that is all the opening is showing me and promising me. The show itself, though, is, saying, okay, there's this hook with the missing mother, and that is interesting enough. And, the character of Mari and her, her problem with actually having enough guts to follow through with one of her many projects is very relatable. So, yeah, it's just, I gotta wait and see. I'm not sure if I'm gonna stick with it. I have only watched the first episode. I don't know, if there's actually something happening besides, them having fun in snow eventually. But, yeah, we'll see.
I mean, part of the story is also, the struggle to actually make their way down to Antarctica.
Yes.
Because they established early on that, hey, there's this ship that's going to be taking civilians down, but, there's a whole lot of consternation about whether or not they'll be able to take high school girls and that sort of thing. So,
yeah. And that's the thing. I wonder how much episodes they're going to spend on what part of the story. Like, how fast are they going to go to Antarctica? If it's a lot about the preparation, the hardships they're going through, that's interesting. That's stuff I want to see. Like, but if it's like, okay, we're after episode 4, we're in the Antarctica, and then we're just gonna fucking sled with the seals or whatever, and roll around in the snow, and hey, here's something new, interesting you can learn about Antarctica today. And I was like, nah. I'm out. But we'll see. That might not happen, For now, I'll stick with it. Okay, next show on my list is Devilman Crybaby.
Oh.
This is a new Devilman anime produced for Netflix and directed by Masaki Yuasa, the director of Ping Pong the Animation, Mind Game, and Kaiba. If you've seen any of the shows, you know that they all have a very distinctive art style, very, very unusual for anime. And the same goes for this one. It is definitely unique, very flat, incredibly colorful, and very loose in terms of its actual animation. And depending on what kind of art style you want in your anime, this might not be for you. I, for example, didn't like the look of Ping Pong. But this I can get behind. It feels like kind of like this, pop art painting in motion a lot of times. And I just dug it. I just dug the style. I'm not too familiar with the Devilman franchise, which was originally created by manga and anime veteran Go Nagai. I have only seen the live-action movie, and that was really bad. Horrible. But I'll stick around for this one, if only for the interesting design. Be warned, though, the series is filled to the brim with sex and violence, and not the lightweight kind. yeah, lots of monsters and everything, gruesome deaths, everything, and lots of fucking. Definitely lots of fucking. Even at least in this first episode, I can maybe it gets even more more dense later on. I don't know. So yeah, all episodes are already available on Netflix, so you can binge them if you want to and if you can handle it. But I have heard a lot of good things about the show for people who have already completely watched it, and yeah, that's why I wanna follow it all the way through, and I'm gonna. So yeah, we'll talk about it again eventually.
Okay,
John, what's next on your list?
Let's stick with Netflix-related shows and talk about Violet Evergarden.
Yes.
Violet Evergarden is about this young girl who serves in this unnamed war alongside this man named Gilbert. And she, at the end of the war, she, leaves the battlefield to start a new life at this postal service, CH Postal Service, which is set up by this man named Claudia Hodgins. First time I've heard of a man being named Claudia, but, okay.
It's anime. It happens.
That's true. It's still, that's not my place to judge anyone's actual name, obviously, but first time I've heard, that name used as a masculine. Maybe at some point in history it has, and I'm just not aware of it. And she begins work basically as a mail clerk. She's put up with this family, the Evergardens, hence the name of the show.
Because her name is Violet.
Yes. But it sort of becomes apparent that she's not a good fit to stay with the family. And she, sort of, I don't know if she really becomes tired of the work that she's doing because, she has a very machine-like demeanor for a reason.
Well, that's a reason that's given away in the first episode, so that's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, pretty much.
She gets prosthetic metal arms because of a war injury, and she initially just was ready to go back to the front lines, but there isn't a war anymore. She just wanted to go back to her the major side and be the loyal dog that she was before, I guess, or that's what many considered her.
Yeah,
all she knew was fighting, and now she has to get actually used to a life without battle, without war, without death. And that can be, really hard. So, yeah, I thought this setup was really interesting and also in a kind of unusual setting.
Yeah, she wants to, I guess you could say rehumanize herself because she ends up learning about a function of some of the other women in the office that basically they write letters for people who either can't write or don't know how they want to put into words what they want to say. And, basically want to experience those emotions to those people to, like I said, sort of get a feel for, I hate being wordy about this because I already said rehumanize herself, but essentially that.
Okay. Yeah, she's trying to get a grasp of the human heart and human condition again. Because that is, if she ever had that before the war, we don't know. She has lost it, and she can't comprehend when a guy comes around the office and asks for one of the for someone to write a love letter or a letter of proposition, to propose to his to write a letter for him to propose to his long time girlfriend. And one of the girls at the office is, swiftly able to write up something very nice. Violet is, really confused and just can't understand how one can so easily understand and how they knew what to write. Like how were they able to put that stuff into words, and how did they exactly know what that man needed to say? And yeah, that's really sad. and you want to see her get back that ability and that feeling. And you know it's there because of the feelings she had for, or, you know, the feelings she had for her superior she didn't understand, but that are definitely there, you know, that you can immediately recognize. The problem is she doesn't understand those feelings. And that's just an interesting setup, just from, you know, from a character standpoint, from a setting standpoint, it's interesting. And not to mention, this show is immensely beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's done by KyoAni, and they have created a visual feast. The show looks like it's running on a movie budget. And, yeah, it's really cool.
I guess my only misgiving is, hey, Netflix, why is it simulcasting everywhere except the United States, huh?
This show, it's one of the two most, you know, of the two big anticipated shows this season. This is one of them. And I now I know why. now I understand. Not only because it's a KyoAni show, but they really seem to have, you know, been putting a lot of work into this. And yeah, seems really promising. Looking forward to more.
Definitely. So what you got next?
Next on my list is the surprise hit of this season, at least for me, and maybe for you too, is Kokkoku. It's about a girl named Juri and her colorful family who, even though they, you know, bicker among each other, have to stand together as one when two of the family members get abducted. It is then that the grandpa of the family reveals a secret power that all of them have, at least after touching a special stone, and that is stopping time. But the people who abducted Juri's nephew and brother apparently are after this power as well, or at least want to eliminate the people able to use this power. It's not super clear after the first episode yet. But this is super cool sci-fi setup with a great cast of main characters. I love every member of that family because they are so
it feels like an actual family.
Yes, they are so goddamn relatable. Their banter, their personalities, everything makes them immediately feel real and grounded. And that is very important since things get super crazy very fast. Yeah, like I said, one of the surprise hits for the season for me, at least judging from its first episode. I ate it up. I thought it was super interesting, and like I said, I immediately was endeared to the characters because they felt like, you know, super real. And yeah, it's got a great opening too. The
opening is like psychedelic. I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I hope it's a good primer for what is still to come in that show. At least the first episode, I really enjoyed it. So yeah.
I went into it not knowing what to expect, and I think I got something good out of it. So
yes, definitely. So if you know, it's none of, or at least not from what I've seen, it's not one of those big shows that everybody anticipated for the season or was looking forward to. But in my opinion, this could be a sleeper hit, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't yet. So, John, what's next on your list?
Let's be a little goofy and talk about Shinkalion, or if you rather, the transformable robot Shinkansen Shinkalion, the animation.
Okay.
So this series centers around a kid named Hayato Hayasugi, and he loves trains. What kid doesn't? Trains are cool. His father is a museum curator, and one day Hayato accidentally stumbles into a secret research lab where his dad works, and inside he finds the E5 bullet train. And when he enters, he hears that, you know, there's this mysterious entity attacking the city, and using one of his father's pieces of equipment, he can use his bullet train and transform it into a mighty robot, the Shinkalion E5 Hayabusa. And much to form, as you might expect, the one of the first monsters that they encounter is a jet black bullet train. This show is clearly for kids, and it's dumb and it's silly. I think it's trying to be Gao Gaigar for an even younger audience, and I'm like, all right, sign me up. Galgaigar's great. I'll watch this too.
Still a show I want to see, and I haven't checked out yet.
Galgaigar is so over the top, but it knows exactly what it is. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
This show, I said, is very much in that same vein. I mean, I guess you could really honestly call them both kids shows. But hey, it's got really cool character designs. The robot designs are neat, very on theme. The first big bad they fight has the railroad crossings, the red and green lights for whether or not it's safe to cross.
Okay.
So it understands what it's going for right straight away. Hell, the phrase they use when the Hayabusa takes off is "all aboard." So it's like, all right, you've nailed exactly what you're going for, and you're just staying right on it. It's goofy, but I think it'll be enjoyable to watch.
And many toys will be sold.
Oh, shit, are you kidding me? This is fodder for that sort of stuff. Mommy, right. Daddy, I want the Shinkalion toy, and there'll be 100,000 of them because it's sponsored by Takara Tomy. So there you go.
Oh boy, here we go.
Also, I should mention that it is also sponsored by one of the Japanese rail systems, JR. So this has so much huge sponsorship behind it, and all of the trains are modeled after real trains. So there you go. So
probably something for model collectors as well, then. If you're into train models.
Slowly raise his hand.
I think we're coming up on the last show in our sneak peek for both of us. And that is Darling in the Frankxx. And this is probably, besides Violet Evergarden, the second most anticipated show this season. I don't know which rank is higher. This is a cooperation between Studio Trigger and A1 Pictures. And, Studio Trigger, if you're not familiar, Kill la Kill, recently Little Witch Academia. And when they were not Trigger yet, Gurren Lagann. Which this is probably mostly, most closely related to. Set in a post-apocalyptic setting. It's about, boy plus girl teams called Parasites who pilot giant mechs called Frankxx. To battle beasts called, what exactly? Robosaurus?
I think the translation went with Klaxosaur.
Yeah, or something like that. Basically, kind of metallic dinosaurs.
Because it's kind of a pun, because part of the name, the word Kyoryu for dinosaur can be translated as shout. So klaxon, like an alarm, a yell. Do you get it? It's cute.
No, I do. Anyway, these weird dinosaurs threaten the questionable safety of a giant ark traversing the wastelands. And on that ark is a boy named Hiro who is ready to give up on his destiny to become or his chance to become one of those parasite pilots because he couldn't manage to control one of the Frankxx with his former partner. And then he gets roped kind of on his own choice at the end, into the fight again by a very forward girl named 02, who has horns, because as revealed at the end of the first episode, she has dinosaur blood in her, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they basically join together, pilot a robot, and become a maybe unstoppable force. I don't know. At least in the first episode, that's what happens. So yeah. Also, the system established, in this society that has control and everything, already seems severely fucked up. Judging from the first episode, there's there are a lot of things going wrong apparently. How the children are treated and everything, and how human life is treated. At least that's what I could gather. Didn't really feel like a nice, place to live with a lot of not with many cool people. And my guess is not many of the pilots of the show will make it out of the story alive. Yeah. But as expected, this has great action. Hiroki Maishi is the action director. So yeah, this could be This could be considered a cool mix of Gurren Lagann and maybe Neon Genesis Evangelion. We'll see. But the potential is there. We got some cool characters, cool character designs, kind of unique mech designs. The faces remind me a bit of Hero Man, the eyes and everything. And yeah, we'll see. It's definitely cool stuff. Great animation, like I said. Cool action stuff. And post-apocalyptic stuff is always interesting to me. So we'll see where it goes. I don't know. What did you think of the first episode? I think you were a bit... you seemed a bit skeptical about it.
Well, you mentioned Evangelion, and I think that's very apt because all throughout while I was watching the first episode, there was something about it, and then I realized what it was. It was the edge.
Okay.
It seems, I don't know if I would say overly edgy, but there is definitely a lot more semblance of it there. And I mean, I guess you need to have a little bit of that when you're post-apocalyptic setting, but I won't take away from the fact that the show, looks amazing, but I'm not sure. We've only seen one episode so far. The second episode doesn't air until, as of the time of this recording, until tomorrow. So, I'll see how I feel going forward. There's a lot of that this season of me being really uncertain about, do I feel like watching this? Do I not? I don't know. So, again, I guess I'll have to see how I feel.
At least the pedigree of the people involved in this is good enough that I would give it the benefit of the doubt for now.
Oh, yeah, that is undeniable. And like I said, I will not take that away from it, so.
The director is good. Writer is the writer of Steins Gate, if I'm not mistaken, so... I think there's some stuff that, at least for some people, will hold enough merit to check it out. And for me, it's, the Studio Trigger involvement and Hiroki Imaishi's involvement in the action direction and everything. So yeah, this is at least for now a good-looking show with an interesting setting. We'll see if the story pulls through as well and the characters. But yeah, this could be the biggest show of the season. We'll see. But yeah, for now, yeah, that's our sneak peek for this season. I think we got to it rather quickly this time.
Yeah, quicker than usual, I think.
Good. But we're not done yet, because we still got our first review to do, and we will do just that in a few moments.
So the first show on the docket this season is Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond. Kind of talking a little bit about both, since we didn't really have a chance to talk about the first season before now, so here we go. So the story in Blood Blockade Battlefront is that one day, New York City as we know it just vanished overnight in a mysterious fog, and now it's known as Hellsalem's Lot. And it's become a place where, a world beyond imagining is connected to our reality. The balance of this world is protected by a secret society known as Libra. And Libra is a motley crew consisting of colorful characters like Klaus Reinhardt, who is a muscular and deadpan sort of guy, practices this martial art called Blood Brain Grid. Wow, that's a lot tougher to say than I thought, because I've never actually said it out loud.
There are many tongue twisters in the special move section of this show.
Oh yeah, there are. He has his second in command, Steven Starface, very sharp-dressed...
Perfect name.
Yeah.
Perfect superhero name.
A very sharp-dressed man with some interesting connections. We've got Zap Renfro, this very standoffish kind of guy who can make weapons from his blood. He's just a womanizing jerk-off.
Also known as Dick Suck.
Yeah.
This is like, the show has these intersections when certain characters appear where you get like little information about them. On his one, it says in the bottom corner, Dick Suck for some reason. I don't know, but it's great.
Well, sometimes
that is great.
Sometimes you do things, but oops.
He's a jerk, but we'll get to the characters in detail later.
We've got Jane Sumeragi, who's this lady werewolf who gives Zap no end of grief, and she's great. She's great. I love Jane. And there's a whole bunch of other characters as well who are members of Libra, but they are not the main character. None of them are. Our main character is Leonardo Watch, a journalist and photographer who arrives in the city with the intent of finding a solution to aid his sick sister, Michelle. And when it's discovered by Libra that he has a power called the All-Seeing Eyes of the Gods, he is unexpectedly drawn into their fold. So
and has to overcome many hardships and adventures.
Poor
a lot of those hardships, come from Zap.
Yeah.
Who becomes like a senpai, but doesn't always treat him as one. As a benevolent teacher should. Zap. I mean, he cares for him deeply. That you see that in certain scenes, but he's still an asshole.
I feel bad for Leo because he's very unassuming, and then he gets. We see a lot of his backstory, of course, and how he's drawn into this, but he never asked for any of this shit, man.
Well, Leo is the perfect character, the perfect, not self-insert character, but the perfect conduit for the audience. Like seeing, really, it's funny that, his powers are the all-seeing eyes, but we see this world through his eyes, as in he gets thrown into all that crazy stuff. And, he doesn't have any physical powers, and he has to go up against a lot of opponents that are just too powerful for him, and he gets thrown around a lot and gets hurt a lot. He ends up in the hospital many times. And, it's just like he goes through all this craziness and can't understand all of it, but he just goes along with it, as do we. So this is, he feels like the perfect protagonist, like the guy we would be in this situation. So, but he has a good heart and he pulls through.
Definitely. He's fiercely loyal to his friends and his family, and that definitely makes him a very likable hero, somewhat hero.
Yeah, kind of unlikely. The Tortoise Knight.
Yep, very much, very much. This show is headed up by I don't know if we talk enough about Bones. Do we talk enough about Bones?
I think we do talk enough about Bones, although, one could say that you can never talk enough about Bones.
That's true. It's true.
Given their track record and their performance and, their number of shows that they have done that we both adore. So, yeah. But, this is another one of theirs.
Another year where we talk, another season, another week where we talk about Bones. But yeah, this show is headed up by Bones, and as far as the animation goes, this show is very much like, yeah, it is very much a visual delight. It's a feast for the eyes.
Yes,
there's so much going on in this show, like constantly. I think
the first season even more so than the second one.
Mm-hmm.
The first season was directed by Ryo Matsumoto, and it just in terms of what is going on, it feels super dense. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much going on, like you said, in each given episode that it is sometimes hard to follow everything and to grasp all that is going on, with only one watch. There's a lot of text scrolls and text information on certain stuff. There are a lot of little details happening in every frame with the characters. A lot of different things happening in the action scenes that you maybe don't see, and very fast, I might add.
Mm.
And it's very dense. It's very busy. And yeah,
I'd say it's busy both. Yeah, definitely both on the information side and on the visual side. Like,
exactly.
Wow.
They changed directors to the current season that just wrapped up, and it wasn't super noticeable, but I felt like I was able to follow the events of the second season much easier than the ones in the first one. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, that's also because they changed writers on the second season, too. The first season was, you already touched on the fact it was directed by Rie Matsumoto, whose other works include stuff like Kyosogiga and the Heartcatch Precure movie. And it was scripted by Kazunao Furuya, whose other big scripting credit is a show called Liar Game that I'm not super familiar with. I don't know if you are.
No, but we should mention that originally this is based on a manga by Yasuhiro Naito, who
the creator of
Trigun.
Yeah, Trigun and Gungrave.
Yes, exactly. Two franchises I enjoy. I watched both, at least the anime of that, and played the Gungrave game and everything. Good stuff. But the manga is quite. I don't know how far the differences reach in terms of certain episodes, but some of the most plot-driven or plot-related stuff, straightforward plot stuff in the anime is anime-only material. So. Already in the first season, they took a lot of liberties with the material. And I would say, considering that the second season is closer to the manga in certain regards, or that, at least that's what I heard, they did some good work in the first season. Because I think the anime-only stuff, which was pretty much all the stuff with the main antagonist and, the character that's related to him, the black and white stuff, that was for me the most interesting, or at least the most emotionally gripping stuff.
Yeah, that was really. I felt bad at the end of that story, for both black and white. It was a really.
And you're supposed to. I mean, it's a tragedy.
It was a very tragic, very heartrending story.
Yeah, indeed, it was very, very pulled off, and that stuff was anime only. Like all the funny, little character stories in each episode, all the stuff, where one of the members of Libra is going, has, one character arc in each episode, and Leonardo gets thrown into some weird, I don't know, caper or some weird plot of some crime organization that's trying to take hold in Halcyon Slot, and Libra has to stop them. All those little story vignettes that happen in the singular, not plot-driven episodes. Those are apparently all from the manga, and only, the straightforward plot stuff that is related to Leonardo and his powers and his sisters and everything. Apparently, all that stuff is anime only. And I think that is the strongest stuff, but that doesn't mean that the other stuff isn't strong too. So I just want to say, I feel like, for, a lot of people saying, oh, the anime is inferior to the manga and everything. I feel like, even though I haven't read the manga, and I can't say for certain, I feel like the stuff they apparently added to the anime is very strong and really added to the material. So
yeah, I mean, I agree, but I'm not quite sure how to say this just because I haven't read the original manga. It feels like even going across both seasons, that we do get bits of the plot among these numerous character moments, of which there are numerous, but it doesn't feel like the plot moves forward a whole lot.
No, not really. We get small glimpses here and there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the manga is at a point where there has been, a plot line, there has been a plot line that has been established. I mean, we know from the anime, at least, who the main antagonists should be. One of them introduces himself in the first episode and everything, is around his second season. That's Fempt. He's one of the kings. He's the king of depravity, and he, for all intents and purposes, he should be one of the main antagonists, but he hasn't, aside from, playing the Joker in certain scenes and, causing havoc and mischief in the city, there is not some underlying, plot that that seems to be, so some plan that seems to be in motion or anything. So I don't know if the manga has already advanced to a stage where that becomes relevant, or if we are still at that, okay, today we learned something about this member of Libra, and today we learned something about this member of Libra, and today there's just some funny stuff with Leonardo happening where he meets a new friend and shit happens with some monsters from the other dimension and everything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I love those moments.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. They're fantastic.
And the show does a fantastic job of establishing all the characters and making you get interested and sympathize with them. Which now that we've had this amazing, this massive degree of setup, if it gets a third season, I hope that's the point where they're actually able to move forward. Again, I'm like you, I don't know where the manga is. At some point, I feel like I should read it, but I would like them to get past introductions and get to the real meat.
Yes. That's the question. I don't know what they are going for and what Naito is going for with his story. If he really wants to introduce like a consistent plot line that is leading to somewhere, or if he just wants to have fun in this world, and if that was also what the eventually what the the anime creators seem to be after a bit more, because they introduced some more plot driven elements, but maybe that's not what he wants to do with this story, because what he seems to be most interested in is creating and crafting this great world. And that's, the world of Hellsalam Slot is fantastic. It's super creative. It's got so much stuff to see. It's not just, this is a version, an anime version of New York, and just looks all normal and it's boring. No, there's so much weird stuff happening in every episode. So much craziness and so much stuff, new antagonists, new monsters that you have probably never seen before. And like the weirdest shit is, the second season ups itself in that regard, I would say. The episode with the micro-terrorists, for example, like, like you maybe can't imagine what that is yet, but I promise you will be at least partially surprised when you watch that episode. But goddamn, yeah, there's so much fun and interesting creative stuff happening in that world. And yeah, maybe that's enough for some people. Just as a warning, if you expect like a completely plot-driven story with a red through line, that's not really in this show. Mm-hmm. The first season is more plot-driven because we have a kind of clear story setup, with Leo and everything, and a character that he meets in the first episode even, and how that wraps up by the end of the season. And second season, not so much. There is something happening at the end that is more related personally to him, but it's like only the last 2 episodes, and there's not really setup for that. It just comes kind of out of nowhere. But I don't know if they will follow up on that in coming seasons, or if that was a one of 2 just to establish that people are after his powers or stuff like that his powers are super strong. But we were made aware of that in the first season too. So I don't know, but you should go maybe into this show expecting a lot of fun character stories and spending a lot of time in a really imaginative and creative world, because you will.
Yeah, some of the monster and character designs in this show are just... I don't even know how to concisely describe it, because they're just so wildly imaginative.
Yes. And, for all its craziness, the world and the characters inhabiting it has, again, like I mentioned, Kokkoku, although that's much more grounded, like much, much more grounded. But even here, you have some of the characters, the character stuff makes some of the characters feel so grounded, and some of the places in that world and some of the people living in, how you see them going about their day. Even the people with weird monster faces just doing normal jobs and wearing normal clothes and everything in that makes that feel that world so tangible and real, even though it's super crazy. but it makes it feel alive. And that is like a thing the anime did super well, and I assume the manga did too. Like create this super crazy fantasy world that just feels super alive and rich in a way, and real. As real as the world like that can feel. And yeah, I think they did a stellar job at doing that. Yeah, talking about the character stuff, I think, like I said, the first season is more about Leo's story and what's happening to him, and we get a few character vignettes. We get info. We get a bit of Zepp's backstory. We get a bit of Klaus' backstory. But yeah, we get a bit of that in the first season, but we get a lot more of that in the second season. Like the second season is much more, and I appreciate that, it's much more focused on expanding our insight on the members of Libra. I don't know who was your favorite, just, after wrapping up the second season in terms of their character stories and everything.
Oh, I mentioned earlier that I really like Chain a lot just because she is very much a smartass, but, she gets the job done. But I like Zed a lot, too, because for being a fish man, he's just, very unassuming, very, he's got his mind on the job sort of thing.
He's also very nice.
Yeah,
like
he was
a nice
also,
person.
Yeah, he was very, down to earth, as much, as a fish man can be, so...
He butts head often with Zepp, which is understandable because Zepp, like I said, is an asshole. I think I enjoyed the story episodes for Steven very much. I thought it was a great episode and gave, some real nice insight into how, what his character is all about, how he operates and everything. And I also like, which was one of the very late episodes of season 2, is this, a character story about KK, who is kind of like the mom of the gang.
Yeah, she is.
But you weren't really aware, or I wasn't really aware of that before that episode. It felt more like, okay, she's like this kind of suave sniper lady who has maybe a crush on Klaus. That's what I got in the first season. But then in this season, we learn a lot more about her, and that she's actually a family life, and she's married, and she has 2 kids, and, juggling the crazy Libra stuff with her everyday life is really difficult. But, the way she pulls that off, and, how she reacts to certain things that happen in her son's life and everything, it's so sympathetic and likable, and I think she is a great character, and that was a great episode. I really enjoyed that. The character stuff, in the second season, just, if you saw the first season was like, man, we don't learn enough about the members of Libra. We don't know learn enough about these characters aside from Leo. Be assured there's enough of that in the second season, and enough good stuff, definitely. A lot of stuff I enjoyed in this. I didn't feel like I was as emotionally invested in the second season as I was in the first one, at least by the end. But in terms of expanding the universe and everything, that was kind of more rewarding. The first season was more rewarding from a plot standpoint, and paying off the setups that were created in its first episode, and the setup with Leo and everything, and the character he meets and stuff like that. That was more rewarding in that regard, and more emotionally gripping and heart-wrenching and everything. And the second season was much more rewarding in terms of learning more about, the actual character roster. So each of the seasons has its own specific merits, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we've really talked about the crew for the second season. So the second season was directed by Shigehito Takayanagi, whose other works include stuff like Dagashi Kashi, a whole bunch of Galaxy Angel, Tokyo ESP, The World God Only Knows. And the 2 writers of the second season, Yasuko Kamo and Yoriko Tomita, as far as I could tell, it looks like at least Kamo worked with Takayanagi on other previous projects. So maybe that's why it felt a bit, I don't know, it felt a bit more cohesive with the character stories. It's hard to really nail it down, to be honest. I don't know. What did you think?
It's hard to say. Like you said, it's hard to pin down. I would say because the nature of the second season is even a bit more episodic than the first one. The first season was already episodic, but the second season feels like each character stories are more closed off in each episode. So I guess it feels like, everything feels like its own wrapped up story. So maybe that's why you got the feeling that it's more cohesive.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah.
And just because, the first season, as we said, did feel so dense in comparison.
Yes, very much. While you in the first season, there's a lot of time spent, or, maybe not enough time spent in terms of screen time, on establishing the rules of the of the city, establishing the world and everything, and at the same time showing you the characters show what they do, and so much of that is like raining down on you that it feels a bit I don't know, not like a puzzle, but a bit fragmented at times, maybe if you don't catch all of it. And that doesn't happen in the second season. The second season is, has much more like closed off character stories, a very simple, wrap up point at the end with a like two-parter. And, it's all pretty easy to follow. Maybe that's why it felt more cohesive.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
And it was falling closer to the manga, so I don't know, apparently.
It could be.
You want to talk about the music, because that's also fantastic.
Music was done by Taisei Iwasaki, whose other major credit is a live-action movie with a very long name that I'm not going to read off here for fear of butchering it. But, man, music in this show, from the actual score to the vocal pieces, and they were, I believe, a lot more like insert songs with actual vocals in the second season than there were in the first, and I feel like it helped give it a bit more flavor, with a lot of these, with parts of these character pieces. Hell, actually, I mean, you mentioned Tortoise Night earlier, and that was one of the songs used in the second season, so kind of on theme.
And it feels like there are a lot of maybe I'm imagining things, but it felt like there were a lot of, in the first and second season, a lot of different musical influences and styles in that show. Like, it feels like, okay, here is this melting pot, New York, that was already considered a melting pot, but now it's that even more so with monsters in it. And, so to reflect that, you got like these different musical styles, changing depending on the episode and situation and character that's depicted in it. And at times it felt, I didn't know for a while who made the soundtrack. And then at the beginning I was like, thinking that it was a Yoko Kanno soundtrack, because it felt a bit akin to her style. And no, but I was wrong. So but definitely this feels like a really, I don't know, very varied and super fitting soundtrack to what is going on screen. It's not too hectic, like, considering what is happening on screen, you would imagine that the music also might be very hectic music, but I don't know. It feels like it's underlining certain themes and certain moods of the show very well, and it's complementing the crazy action scenes very well. Without getting on your nerves. So I really enjoyed the music in that show, and can't wait to see what he does next, if he does anything next. I mean, he hasn't done anything in the anime game between those two seasons of Blood Blockade Battlefront, and they've been a while apart. So I wonder.
I want to talk about the first ending sequence and how Sugar Song and Bitter Step is a great song, and the fact that it's the sequence is also a really good character piece, like the rest of the show, because you see all of the characters dancing on stage, and no one's dancing in time with one another. They all look goofy as hell, and it's great, and I love it.
It's perfect. It fits like the characters and the mood of the show super well. And I really enjoyed the dancing ending as well. It was, I mean, the second ending, like the ending to the second season, is great too. Like it's also really out there, really poppy, really colorful. with lots of crazy imagery. So that works. What did you think about the openings? I think the second one was a bit better.
Yeah, I liked Fake Town Baby better than Hello World, and there's
a bit more going on.
That's nothing against Bump of Chicken or the intro sequence itself, but the second intro sequence had a lot more and more, fast cuts, dynamic camera shots, just like more contrasting colors. It was a lot more interesting. And Fake Town Baby was a really cool song. I also thought it was neat how Unison Square Garden went from doing the ending theme to the first season to the opening theme for the second one. I thought that was a really cool, like, sort of progression, as it were.
Yeah, feels like a conscious decision. But yeah, definitely good stuff. Although the opening animation for the second season in hindsight, feels a bit like a, I don't know, red herring maybe, because it feels like at the end of that, it's okay, this is the villain they're going against in this season. This is like the puppet master behind everything. And no, that character never appears in that show.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe he will eventually, but I mean, the Blood Breed are definitely the main enemies, and the how many kings are there supposed to be of them? I don't know, but
yeah.
And I expected that guy to be one of them, but it wasn't, or at least if he is, he wasn't in that show. So bit of a false lead or something like that. So, but aside from that, great opening, definitely. Final word, maybe. Loved both seasons of this. I probably liked the first season a bit better. Just because of the black and white stuff. It was really strong, and just felt a bit more, I don't know, emotionally engaged at the end of the first season. But I really enjoyed the expanded insight into our main cast in the second season. Like, finally learning more about those characters that are, so colorful and entertaining, and that, you just get briefly, shown several times in action in the first season. They do a lot of cool stuff, but you never know what these characters are about. In the second season, you finally learn much more about them. So like you said, now we got the groundwork laid to go into, really maybe interesting story stuff in a possible third season, if we get one. I don't know. Has that one been announced?
I don't think so.
And don't get me wrong, the final 2 episodes of the second season were really strong too. There was a really, really cool final moment in that final episode that I really enjoyed. It's just, the other stuff was just a bit stronger in the first season, but, if you have garnered anything from our Ramblomatic review of Blood Blockade Battlefront, which is, maybe fitting, considering what show this is and how it looks and everything, definitely check this out. Like, if you like action, if you like fun characters, if you like a fantastically crafted and colorful and creative world, please, god damn it, check this show out. It's I feel like I don't see enough people talking about this. It's one of Bone's best, I would argue. It's definitely super, it's all the way through. It's super entertaining. Of course, there are some weaker episodes. There are some stronger episodes. That happens with every show. That's how it is. I would say maybe in the second season, the stuff with the hospital was not super strong.
Yeah.
That was one of the weaker episodes. But, then usually after those, there's one that immediately after that follows, and that's super great. So even the worst episodes of this show are still really, really good. So please, definitely check out Blood Blockade Battlefront and Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond. Jesus Christ, tongue twister hell. Because I think both John and I agree that this is one of the most entertaining 2 seasons of anime we have seen in recent years. And that is a wrap on the 44th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for some interesting articles linked in our episode release posts. Follow us on Twitter at AniBrainFreeze. We tweet regular updates and fun anime-related stuff there. Leave us comments and questions on Facebook and our YouTube channel, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next show. Macht's gut.
So long, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
When you want to become an elite NEET, but that's just not what life has in mind for you.
And the story of an unlikely hero and the terrifying villain he's destined to fight.